Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. It's been a week. It's been like 8 days since Josh and I were last here.
Yep.
Josh, how you doing?
Oh, fine. Can't complain. Welcome back, Mavericks basketball. First game back from a break, and it's no Cooper Flag. Wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, but this was a pretty funny game.
So the Mavericks fell 122 to 111. They ruled out Cooper Flag yesterday, though you could see him running in practice. Jeff Stotts of In Street Clothes said that the average foot sprain missed time is 20 days. Flagg is sitting at about 11. So when Tim McMahon said the day after, maybe it was right before the Lakers game, where he's like, the Maverick, according to sources, the Mavericks don't expect him to miss any additional time. I thought that was weird. Feet stuff, as anyone that's played fantasy football knows, you simply don't mess around with feet stuff because the blood flow, there's just lots of different potential issues that can arise.
I need people to make a meme from this and clip just the part of you saying
feet
you
stuff.
Don't mess around with feet stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Just a picture of you with the quote image with your face, and it's just you or underneath your face. You don't mess around with feet stuff.
Terrible.
But you're right. I wonder if it's because they're just spooked with all the tanking fines and stuff that they're just like, oh, he's not that hurt. He'll come back soon, we promise.
Right. And we'll get to the tanking of it all in the second half of the show in terms of the NBA, because that's been the whole discussion about what's going on. Our man Brandon asks, didn't Yao Ming have feet issues? Yes, but that was also because between the NBA and the Chinese national team, he literally played without a significant break for 4 straight years. And when you're 7'6" and 300 pounds, it's just they ground him to dust. So, but that, that it's an example of kind of what can happen when you don't take care of your feet. And if you're, some people out there may know, if you've had foot problems, it causes you to do other stuff weird. So I want them to take their time with Flagg, as much as I missed watching him play tonight. But what the hell happened in this game tonight? Because I only really caught the second half because of kid bedtime and stuff. And I saw that the Mavericks were getting just walloped at one point. And so talk to me about the half that I missed.
So what's funny is you missed it, but you didn't really miss it because you literally is it Offside, the place you're working with? You're doing those short form videos. You did one 2 days ago, basically talking about, have the Mavericks actually been kind of secretly tanking for 2 weeks now during this losing streak? And you talked about how every fourth quarter they're giving up somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 40 points. Oh, go ahead.
First quarter.
Yeah. Somewhere in the first quarter, or not somewhere in the first quarter of all of these games they've lost, what's now 10 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They've given up anywhere between 35 to 40 points per first quarter. The Mavericks were down 40 to 25 in the first quarter tonight, and then they lose by 10, and they're down, and it's a clutch game. Literally exactly what you say. They get off to a terrible anemic start, then they play harder than the other team for the final 3 quarters, and they make it look close. Literally, it's what you said. The
Mavericks won every other quarter. That's absurd.
Almost. Well, they lost the fourth by 3, but that's
you're right.
But they were winning the fourth quarter pretty much until the final minute. They were winning the fourth quarter because the Wolves kind of pulled away free throws, got some late baskets when the game was kind of decided. The Mavericks were winning the fourth quarter, I think, for the first 8 or 9 minutes. So yeah, I mean, they outscored the Wolves in the second through fourth quarters. They outscored the Wolves by 4 points. So, you don't get off to a catastrophically awful start in the first, and you either win the game or, maybe get it closer than you get a chance to win it at the end instead of it being a 10-point game. But it was really funny. You're going to have to pin that video and just repeat it every day, because it was hilarious. I was watching it earlier today before the game, and then this game happened and they got down 40 to 25. And I think someone in our Slack also made a note of it. I think Michael. I was let's see. They're probably going to come back, and then they pretty much instantly did.
But you look at the losing streak here from these Mavericks, and it's kind of. I didn't want to say anything that first, so that I missed actually our podcast for the start of the losing streak against the Lakers. That home game where I got to meet Luka. That was so egregious what happened in that fourth quarter. I was
when they were up 15.
Yeah. I was earnestly surprised it wasn't more of a talking point because they were up 15 in the fourth quarter and then they lost. They scored 7 points in the final 7 minutes. And the substitutions were totally screwy. And I guess it just, I have a feeling part of why it didn't become more of a conversation was A, the Mavericks weren't expected to be very good. B, there was the snowstorm and just like we were talking about a lot of non-basketball stuff, even with our own Slack. And I thought, okay, maybe it's just an issue where Kid was trying to outsmart himself. And then you just like the next 8, like the games kept happening. Like it kept happening like this. And they did play some good teams. Like that's the secondary part. And you and I
They've played all good teams for the most part. The only bad team they played is Charlotte, and they are playing like a winning team for the last month.
Right. And the Charlotte game was a painful loss where Flagg frankly lost his mind. Like that was an almost win there. And so the rest of these are pretty defensible in one way, shape, or form. But it's like this narrative might go right down the toilet that I've sort of built up just because the next 3 games are eminently winnable games against teams that are much better at outright, or 4 games are much better about tanking than the Dallas Mavericks. So I don't know. What are you going to do?
Yeah. And it's like, it's hard to talk about, especially when Flagg's not playing, because there's really nothing to take away when Flagg's not playing, because we know that this roster as it stands right now is going to look drastically different. And maybe a year from now, 18 months from now, like this is not, we know that the foundation of the Mavericks is Flagg. And after that, everything is for the most part up in the air. And especially when Max Christie isn't playing either, because he's the only other guy you can think that's going to maybe be here for the next 3 or 4 years. Everything else is very fluid. Yeah. Especially with Derek Lively not going to return this season. So it's hard to be like, oh, this is what this means. So the game, it's the same other than, getting down big in the first quarter and then trying hard, it's the same things. It's 3-point shooting. They can't make threes. They can score in the paint. They scored more points in the paint than the Wolves tonight. They had 60 points in the paint, which is an elite number. They got to the free throw line 29 times. Now they missed 8 of them, and they missed a lot of free throws in the second half, but they made 21 free throws and scored 60 points in the paint. That's pretty good against the Rudy Gobert defense. The shot chart's pretty funny because they shot better in the paint outside the restricted area than the restricted area, because that's Gobert.
Right.
They shot just over 50% in the restricted area, which is below league average. So that's Gobert. So they were just like, well, what if we just took these shots 1 foot farther back away from him? And they made 50% of those shots because, Najee Marshall's ridiculous.
Of course. And even he was pretty rough in the field tonight. He was 5 of 12 from 2-point range.
Yeah, he wasn't himself. Tyus Jones had a really nice game. So yeah, they could score in the paint. They drive the ball relentlessly, but they can't shoot. And they can't really guard. Like it's hard for them to guard right now. They get stretched out. They can't cover. They're pretty good guarding the rim when that's all they have to worry about. But when teams stretch them out and force them into rotation, that's where the weaknesses really show. Like when they can pull their rim protectors away, especially when they're playing Naz Reid, who can play stretch 5, like, and you're pulling Gafford away from the rim, you're pulling PJ away from the rim. They played some hilarious lineups. Like there was a lineup where Chris Middleton, Klay Thompson, and Caleb Martin were all on the floor for like 5 minutes, and it's like, are they trying to set the record for slowest team of the 2026 season? Like, and Chris Middleton actually had a pretty great game, and Klay had some pretty nice moments too. Although he was 4-12, he made some big threes. But yeah, they had they had a billion turnovers in the first 5 minutes, and then they finished with 13, and the Wolves had 19. They finished with 12, and the Wolves had 19. And again, it's just like, AJ Johnson played 5 minutes, and it was all in the first half. Marvin Bagley didn't play late. And
when Bagley not playing late is just a bright flashing. We're not trying to win.
He had 15 points and 13 rebounds. Stafford's the starter, so it's not totally, it's not totally unreasonable for them to make that lineup decision, because
you really got to be watching this team to get
right. Because if you look at the box score, you're like, oh, that's fine.
They got beat by the Wolves. That's fine.
yeah, Gafford's the starter. Of course, he played the final 5 minutes of the game. But if you're watching it, Bagley was pretty good. He gives up as much as he takes, though. Like he's fine. He's serviceable.
He's a great effort. Like he for a 20-minute a game big. Like he probably can't play in the playoffs for anybody that ever matters. But for a team like this, I like watching him. He certainly you enjoy effort and athleticism in games in the middle of February. So
I think he's making a case to be like, keep him around for the next couple of years. Just why not? Because I can't imagine he'll be that expensive.
Right.
He fits with Cooper in terms of youth and athleticism. Something that I like, and you didn't get to see it tonight because Cooper didn't play. But when Cooper gets better at rebounding, because he's kind of not been as good at rebounding as I thought he was going to be. But when he gets better, because you could see it happen when he's able to grab the rebound. It was kind of the Luka thing. When your lead guy can rebound well, he can start possessions faster because you're not rebounding, trying to find an outlet to your lead guy. Like, he's the lead guy. He grabs the ball, he takes it, he goes. And he's so fast and he's so aggressive in transition. You want more guys that can run and keep up with him. And Bagley could be like one of those guys. Not saying he's going to be a staple, but like, it'll be fun when Cooper gets back to watch those two in transition together. Because Bagley can get up and down the floor very well. But yeah, PJ had a really rough game. Shooting the ball.
PJ's had a really rough 2026.
PJ looked like he got monstered at some point. And I know people are going to be like, oh, he's a Luka merchant. And it's like, he started the season pretty well.
And last year, he was the only good player. Like, after the Luka trade, he was the only good player.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's that. I feel like him and Gafford, they are just plagued by the constant nagging injuries, and they just haven't looked right all season. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Wolves are good. I mean, the Wolves. I wonder what Chris Finch, because Chris Finch is a pretty animated coach. Like,
he's dying on the inside.
Because you could tell they took it seriously in that first quarter, and then you didn't watch as much of the second. Basically, when they got up 40-25, the Wolves were treating this like an all-star game. And they were going for poster dunks every play. They were going for highlight reel passes. They were going for home run plays because they were like, oh, this is over. Dallas stinks. We're up 15. We can just fuck around, try to get some highlights for our YouTube reels, and then we can go home. And it's like, the first thing on the scouting report for Dallas is like, don't do that, because you will make a game closer than it should be because they don't give up.
And I think I just sort of thought of this.
Yeah.
Tell me if you think I'm wrong here.
Okay.
One of the things we talked about going back in the preseason was the Mavericks are going to have a hard time getting back into games because they don't shoot enough three-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
I think other teams also would agree with that assessment given the statistics. But what is not translating into scouting reports is just their sheer volume and effort with the paint attack is overcoming that inability to shoot threes often enough to make the game competitive.
They can't win, but they can make it competitive. I mean, if you're scoring 55 to 60 points in the paint every night, which I think the Mavericks, last I checked, they're averaging like 54, 55 points in the paint, which was top 10. Like, you're going to give yourself a chance.
Yep.
You're not going to win a lot if you keep shooting 20% from three, because that's just the NBA, but that helps prevent some of the blowouts. But yeah, like, I just couldn't. Like, I was like, I wonder if Chris Finch is just like screaming like internally, like during those second and third quarter, and even during the fourth when the Mavs were making those runs. Because it's like, if the Wolves just gave two shits after the first quarter, this would have been a 15-point game for most of the night. So, it's the same thing we always say. Credit the Mavs. They don't give up. And there's, I don't know how much that means. We can't quantify it, but it's good to set that kind of culture. And we'll see if that pays off for them when they actually have better players to match the culture.
Right. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. There are 3 ways to support the show. The first is quite literally sending us money. They're links. I've made them and people have used them. The second way is to tell your friends. Grow the show. We haven't really grown the show. Nobody's giving a single shit about the Mavericks right now. The third way to support the show is listening to the ads. And I do want to take a minute to thank everyone for actually doing that, because that has been reflected in the numbers Josh and I have seen. I know it's not particularly fun to listen to ads. I sometimes find myself doing it too, but there is a literal payoff involved for Josh and I that you guys are helping do by listening to those ads. Maybe one day we'll get to the point where we can have local advertisements and we can support some local businesses, but we're not quite there just yet. So Josh and I will be right back after this break. Thanks so much for hanging out. Okay, we're back here. I do want to host these after party, like the group therapies and the Mavs parties. But I got to know that there's interest before I pull it up. I can just see who's all in the room tonight. Not that many people. It's okay. It's a Friday night after All-Star break, and Cooper wasn't playing. Didn't exactly expect a big crowd. But if people want to talk ball, when this show is live, you pop in here, you hang out, you let me know in the comments. You want to come up on stage and talk after the game. That will prompt me to continue the show. I don't think I'm going to do one tonight, just because there's not a lot of folks in here, and I got sick the Friday night of All-Star weekend, and today and half of yesterday is the first time I've actually felt like a human. I did that old thing. You remember when I first moved here in like the month of October, I sounded like I smoked a pack of cigarettes. That's how I sounded. It was just like,
yeah. Welcome to DFW air quality.
It was something special here. Anyway, so let's talk about some of the other Mavs adjacent and Mavs stuff that we missed over the last week. Obviously, tanking and the solutions or non-solutions have become like the only thing that the podcasts and shows I listen to talk about. How that is Mavericks adjacent it's very like I made the comment of it feels like if Adam Silver is going to actually make some changes again, if you're a tanking team that has a pick this year, it feels like being on the last chopper out of Vietnam, because this is like Mavericks don't have a pick next year for all intents and purposes. So whatever's going on in the Mavs right now and what they are and aren't doing is, I'm just kind of over it. Like I have, I'm a little loath to discuss Mark Cuban's comments because the man just doesn't tell things as they actually fucking happened. Like he tells history and stories about things that did not happen. Like we cover these every single game, and him saying things like the Mavs fans were thrilled that we were tanking and ticket prices were low so parents could take their kids to games and they had a great time. And it's like, I took my kids to tanking games. They sucked in 2023. It was not fun. 2018, I can't speak for it, but I can't believe anyone actually thought tanking in 2017 or 2017, 2018 was fun. I'm over it all. And my solutions, people want to argue with me about it. My personal Kirk Henderson based solutions are get rid of pick protections and get rid of the Stepien rule. Stop protecting people from themselves. You create other incentives when you're constantly hedging on picks. And somebody said to me, well, if you limit pick protections, then you're going to have fewer trades. Good. Dance with who brung you. Build a better fucking team. Stop giving out shitty contracts. Like all this stuff is built to like essentially protect both general managers and teams from doing stupid stuff. They do stupid stuff anyways. You're never going to fully eliminate tanking in a sport like this. But for the love of God, it's not that complicated. Like what's the pick protections are why the Jazz are tanking. Like get rid of the stuff that forces the worst kind of tanking. Sorry.
No, I know. I'm with you. The pick protection thing is very silly. I'm just like, it's such a broad issue because, and DLSS's Tim Cato, our former boss, our friend and colleague, actually wrote something that I was thinking about the other day because we've been talking so much about tanking, and he kind of wrote something about like, yeah, tanking sucks, but like it's beyond tanking, and talking about like players not being healthy and leading to the lower quality of games. And that's kind of like, it's going to be hard to get rid of tanking, even if they do everything we want them to do. As long as there is a draft, teams will that rewards the worst teams with a better chance of a pick. There will be some form of tanking. Like you just simply can't legislate all of it away, and you could keep doing these band-aids, which they should do some of them. Like the pick protection thing, regardless of tanking. Like I'm just tired of having to follow. Oh, does this pick? Do they get this pick? Do they not? Like I'm tired of having to read a fucking dictionary to figure out what picks these teams owe, or like these formulas and stuff. Like that's just not fun to follow, regardless of the tanking part. But part of it is just like I just want more competitive regular season games, and I want the regular season to matter more. Is tanking part of that? Sure. If more teams gave a shit and weren't trying to lose, that helps. But also, we've watched games where it's not necessarily tanking. It's just like, oh, everyone's hurt today, and so now this game kind of doesn't matter. And like, do we need to watch it, or why are we watching it? And it has nothing to do with whether these teams are trying to lose or not. It's just one team has like 5 guys on the injury report in November, and the other team is on like the second night of a back-to-back and isn't trying hard because they're wiped out because, you know, they flew overnight, and the game is harder to play now. Guys are running more miles per game than they did, 25 years ago. So like I remember the breaking point for me. I can't remember if it was like 2 years ago or 3. It was like 3 years ago, because it was before New Orleans got really, really bad. It was still with Zion and Brandon Ingram. It was when they still had Brandon Ingram, and it was still Zion and Trey Murphy and Herb, when New Orleans kind of thought that they were like a playoff team. And I remember the Mavericks had just played like 3 straight games against 3 just dog shit. Like it was like Wizards, Hornets, Kings, and it was like, these games don't matter. Why am I watching them? I'm not learning anything about the Mavs. We're not learning anything about the other team. And they were fine. The next game was New Orleans, and it was like, great. A team I think that at the time was either near Dallas in the standings or above them. Great. More of a measuring stick game. And then like 2 hours before the game is like, New Orleans is resting Zion, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, and Trey Murphy. And I was just like, this sucks. Like this sucks. If there are so many games that teams feel like they don't care, like, because I don't even remember what it was. Like it was part injury management, part rest, part, I think one guy got hurt the previous game. But it's just like that happens too often. And you don't want to force these players to play hurt, but the league, the ultimate solution is stuff that the league has no control over, because the league cannot control youth sports in America, which is where these guys are getting broken down. And there's been lots of articles written by very smart people talking about what is happening to the bodies of these young men and women when they're playing as 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds. But the NBA just needs to do a better job making sure the best product is on the floor as much as possible. I think that's the thing. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the science says, but I just want more games to feel like, wow, the stakes are really high for this one. Regardless of if the team is bad, good, championship contender, playoff team. I just want the game, and the Mavericks, bless them, are making a lot of these games more fun than they have any right to be. Like tonight's game was wildly more competitive than it should have been, so kudos to them. But I just want to see these regular games feel like the teams aren't just trying to get to the final buzzer and move on to the next one. Like this, like, oh, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's like, I kind of wish the regular season was more of a sprint. Like, I wish it wasn't just a war of attrition. Who didn't get hurt less? Like you look at the Pistons and it's like, they're awesome. They also, and like the Celtics, awesome story. They haven't got, like, the Celtics haven't gotten hurt. Like if the Celtics had like 3 or 4 injuries, that really great story has gone away. And sometimes I just wish that isn't what it boiled down to. Sorry, I just ranted. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
Oh no, it was good. I did the same thing prior to you, and I keep hacking, and so I put myself on mute. That kind of overtook the first part of All-Star weekend. The rookie game was, I think, fairly interesting. It obviously missed Cooper Flag. All-Star Saturday night was once again the 3-point contest just needs to be at the end. It's kind of a weird thing, but the All-Star game itself, I had it on. It doesn't ultimately matter, but the All-Star game got a ton of eyeballs on it because it was early due to the lead in to the Winter Olympics. And that's a great thing. Like, a lot of eyeballs is a great thing. What ended up also being a great thing was the fact that 3/4 of the All-Star game, the little pickup games they were playing, were fantastic. I mean, truly fantastic. Very funny that Kevin Durant ended up being correct that like Luka and Jokic like actively ruin the fucking thing. Like I like everybody knows I love Luka, but he don't want to be there. And obviously he's coming off an injury, and Jokic definitely, like, they have fun. That's not what I'm saying. Like, they're not like pouting. They just don't really want to play. And okay, but everybody else wanted to play, and it was fun. I had a good time, really good time watching that. I'm very shocked that the
quick Kirk. What is the most points in a game that Luka has scored at an All-Star game?
I think he's probably scored 4.
8 maybe is the most he's ever done.
Yeah, which is just, these guys like setting each other on fire, and you think that would be like Luka's bread and butter, but he just doesn't ever want to do it. He really doesn't want to do it.
I think it's like one of those things where like it's like the stakes. Like, he didn't grow up in the country, so he doesn't have maybe the same affinity for like the All-Star game as maybe guys that were growing up and watching it. But again, I don't know, because like the LeBron generation didn't give a shit about the All-Star game, so I don't know what it is.
Well, then the last kind of piece of news, other than Mark Cuban just somehow making the news every other day with his comments, and I'm just like, I'm trying to, I've had to really hold my tongue about this because I don't like dunking on Mark for no damn reason. But it's like you can ask him a question. He answers everyone. His email is not hard to find. So everyone is going to him for comment on things. And it's like, he is a season ticket holder. A lightly compensated, if the team makes money, season ticket holder. He's not a decision maker. I get that he was the owner once, but he hasn't been for 3 years now. And it is what it is, but that's just like so I don't really want to talk about anything else he had to say. Kyrie Irving and the Mavericks did release a statement that he's done for the year, which was one of my early places just because I am not stupid. And if you hoped he would come back, I don't want to say that you're stupid, but it was going against all history. And I think if he hadn't been hurt, or I'm sorry, if the team hadn't been bad, if they'd been middling, maybe he would have come back. I do. I think he's a competitor in that way, but like, there's just no reason for him to play right now.
No. And then, Jazz fans can get their jokes in, about tanking because they get really sensitive about it. And yeah, this is obviously part of this is because the Mavericks want to lose as many games as possible, but also the part, the team is 19 and $1 billion. So why are you bringing back your 33-year-old coming off an ACL who has a history of knee surgeries, by the way? Like, that's
his injury history. I went and looked at it.
He's had a lot of lower body injuries.
That he's still playing at the level he plays at is actually quite remarkable. He's had some crazy shit happen to him.
And he came out of Duke with like some injury concern. Like, he didn't come out of, I think he had injuries.
He had freak injuries at Duke, like really weird stuff that wasn't going to happen like this. But
okay. I couldn't remember if they were like
the funny part, I got a text message from another member of the Dallas media who was like, well, did you notice Sham's second tweet? And I was like, what are you talking about? And Sham's follow-up tweet to the initial, Shams didn't break any fucking news. The Mavericks emailed people. Like, that's my favorite part about the breaking news culture on Twitter is like half of it is press releases where you get emails.
we find out 5 minutes before.
Josh and I don't check our email because we're not reporters, but it's like I 9 times out of 10, it's an email. So anyways, but he followed it up with a something from, I think her name is Sheila Jackson Lee, his stepmother, who's also his agent, and said something to the effect of like, Kyrie looks forward to like competing for a championship next year. And, not to be that guy, but Like, where is the championship in the room with us?
Are
Like,
you the John Travolta in Pulp Fiction looking around?
Right, sort of. And it's, I have sort of spoken, and I think both of us are of this opinion that Kyrie Irving should be a Maverick for precisely as long as Kyrie Irving would like to be a Maverick. So if he wants to go somewhere else, they should help facilitate it. If he wants to stay, he should stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have the space, they have the time. He's been nothing but a consummate professional. He's well liked around the team and the league, and how they treat Kyrie Irving is going to matter. Probably more than it maybe should, given his inability to play more than about 55 games a year. But I like him, and so that comment sort of stuck out to me. And I wonder if do you think I'm reading too much into it?
Yeah, I mean, I could see why you would want to maybe raise an eyebrow to it, but it's also like a PR statement, and it's like they're gonna say that, like, right? Like, you're not gonna say Kyrie looks forward to being the 10th seed in the play-in next season. So then part of it is that, like, just the fluff of it. But I mean, if Kyrie went to the Mavs this summer and was like, "Hey, can I go to a contender?" Like, that's A, that shouldn't be shocking, and B, that shouldn't upset anyone, really. I mean, you can be upset in the sense that, like, a player that you like is leaving, but in the sense of, like, morally or whatever, like, it's fine. Like, Kyrie has earned the benefit of the doubt in this situation, and if he wants to play for a contender while he still has the juice left, because again, no one on the team signed up for this situation. No. Like, all the veterans on this team thought that they were going to be on a championship contender for the next 3 to 4 years, bare minimum. And that got that got stolen from them in a way that was totally outside their control. So if they want to go, they should go. But if you you already said it. If he wants to stay, he should stay.
My last question: did you happen to catch the mock draft that Mavs Moneyball staff did last night?
I saw it. I need to go back and watch it. I was behind on my podcast game today, but I loved that y'all did that, and that was a great idea.
I just sort of sat here. I was like the producer in the back room, and they. If you guys haven't listened to it, I posted it last night. It's up there. It's Mavs Moneyball mock draft. We ran, the ESPN has its own tankathon thing, and what we essentially did is I pressed the button, and of course the first press, the Mavericks jumped to number 1, which we're all like, okay, fuck this. Like, so we ended up talking about who we would take if the Mavericks did go number 1, but then we reran it, and the Mavericks stayed at 7, and that was a much more interesting discussion. It was so Ash Boying asks who did it, and so it's funny if you participate in our live shows like he does. We have multiple guys that pop in and out of the live shows now and again that are actually writers for our site. There's Tyler Edsel, there's David Trink, David Sanchez, and then Brian Roby popped in and did it, and it was very fun because we tried to pick. They tried to pick based off of what they would assume the team would do, like various teams, and so they just went and they had discussions. And, we all kind of laughed because the Mavericks, we selected for the Mavericks at 7, Fleming from Houston. And we all are like, there's no way he is there at 7. Like, there's just no way. Which, but at the same time, they went through and made all these picks, and it was a fun concept. We'll probably do it again. Once we know a little bit more. There's a lot of college basketball coming up that you should consider watching. Like there's a Michigan Duke game coming up this week, next week, it has the highest seats, like per seat single game seats, like I just looked into it, that I have ever seen for a sporting event. Like we're talking like
single for which game?
For Duke Michigan. Oh, yeah. $375 for a single seat up in the highs. Well, it was nuts. So there's just, I don't know. We're going to try to be putting out more draft content. These guys, I love our guys to pieces, but I sometimes I show up after like a Tuesday morning, work meeting, and there's 150 messages, and I'm like, guys, will you just copy and paste this and put it into an article, because people want to read your thoughts. But draft time's fun. I don't know enough about any of these guys other than the fact that I am very excited about the opportunities for the guys that are in like the top 10 range. Like there's a lot of guys that I would be happy with, which is fun.
Yeah, I need to do a better job of. I can't believe I still haven't done this yet, but I went to Kansas for my first 2 years of college, and they play in the same conference as TCU, and they occasionally, I think they don't play there every year because of the way the conference is now, but so they played in Kansas when TCU played, but they were here in Fort Worth last year, and I need to do a better job of when they come to Fort Worth to play TCU to get tickets to that and go. Kind of a shame that there wasn't going to be this year in Fort Worth to see Darren Peterson or not see him. Hot take. Yeah. but yeah, like the fact that TCU's in the Big 12 and the Big 12 is a pretty awesome basketball conference. Like, there's good now that the Mavericks are going to need to draft again. That's a good way to get some eyes on some really talented future NBA players if you're living in the DFW area.
Oh yeah, and there's 4 freshman point guards that have had games of 40 points or more.
Yeah, I bet you that exercise, if nothing else, when you're like, how is Fleming, like, it probably just emphasized like how stacked the top of this draft is.
And the I don't want to ruin it, but like the Utah Jazz, what they do is kind of the pinch point. If they stay if they're in like the top 6, what they do is going to be very fascinating because the Mavericks probably aren't going to be able to pass them. And there's a number of point guards in this draft, and like I just don't know enough yet, but I have some firm opinions based on the archetypes of players that I like. And so there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to argue about. Like, there just really is. Like the guy Fleming's in Houston, his drive rate is absurd. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander level drive rates, like just constantly probing. And Mikal Brown is just a great bomber from distance, a willing shooter. And it's like, okay, well, the Mavericks need shooting. Like there's just a lot of fun stuff going on. So oh man, we talked forever. I didn't mean to talk that long. All right, everybody, go enjoy your Friday night because it's before 10. I'm gonna get this thing up. Josh, you're gonna go edit some articles, and we will see you guys Sunday. The Sunday game starts at 4. Josh and I will not be recording immediately after the game. We have children. I suspect we will probably record around 8:30, kind of like like we used to do over the summer once we get the kids to bed.
Yep.
So anyway, that's where we're going to be. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening on your podcast apps. We'll talk to you guys soon. Everybody be good. Go Mavs.